Welcome back to Coding Camp. I'm Miss Blair and I will be leading you through the Coding Camp series. I want to let you know that this series builds upon each lesson. So we're going to be learning something new each lesson, but adding things we already know. The first lesson, Talk to the Animals, was posted on September 1st. It goes over the basics of Scratch and vocabulary you'll need to know. Feel free to start there and then catch up. These videos aren't going anywhere. All right, so let's begin today's lesson. It is called Fast Fish. So as always, we start at scratch.mit.edu and we click on Create. It takes us to the project area. Awesome. So today's key concept is conditional loops. A conditional loop keeps repeating until something happens or changes. This game uses a conditional loop to make a fish swim down a river using the mouse to guide it. In the past, we've been using our arrows, but today we are going to use our mouse to guide. If the fish touches the sides of the river, the game is over. The game uses a go-to code block to set the starting coordinates of the fish. All right, so step one, let's change this cat for a fish. We delete our cat. We are going to add a fish. So if we go to animals, you can get some ideas. I am going to click on fish. And if you kind of saw there are a few different fish. So you've got 4 to choose from. I think I'm going to go with this guy today. When I was practicing, I used the blue, but since my river is going to be blue, I think yellow would really stand out and look pretty. So that is the fish that I have chosen. And now we're going to get ready. We're going to give our fish a code. Step 2. All right, so we've got events. When the flag is clicked is how we are going to start our game today. Looks. We're going to set our size to 25% because it's got to fit within our river. And motion, we have the go to XY. X is going to be negative 200 and Y is going to be 120. Last class, we talked a lot about X and Y coordinates and how our stage in Scratch is set up like a graph, like a grid, and you have an X-axis, which is horizontal, and a Y-axis, which is vertical. If you're new and you haven't seen that tutorial, I suggest you go back and listen to that whole explanation because it can really open the doors for cool things to do in Scratch, but I'm not going to repeat myself today. So let's press the green flag and shoot. Oh, it's so cute. It's so small. So we changed our size to 25. Remember, you can also do it here. And we have moved our fish up here. So this is going to be where we start our game. Love it. Green flag is always good for checking your code. So now we've been choosing backdrops from a library. Today we are going to create our own backdrop. So much fun, we get to be creative. So in this stage area, we'll click on stage. We're going to hover over choose a backdrop and doot the paintbrush. Click on the paintbrush. It's going to take you to backdrops. We are going to paint inside this square a green color. Okay, so I want to go to the fill. I'm going to drag my fill over to green. I like that color. I want it to be really bright, so I'm going to drag over my saturation, but I want it to be a little darker. So we'll choose 65. There are 2 options later, and I want you to try both just to get used to things. So right now, whatever green you have chosen, I want you to write down your color, your saturation, and your brightness. So on my chart here, I have color 31, saturation 100, brightness 65. I'm going to click out and I'm going to select my paintbrush tool. And I don't want to be drawing, and I'd be here forever and a day if I was drawing with this small of a paintbrush. So in here, I'm going to add 2 more zeros to give me a big honking paintbrush. I'm going to hold down the left side of my mouse and I'm just going to fill it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. For today's purposes, you can color outside the lines. So we're just going to try and get this fast. We want to make sure that it definitely reaches all over our screen. So all of that gray and the crosshairs are gone. Okay. And you can look over here. It should all turn green. And then we've got kind of mine looks like a little bit like a loaf of bread, but it's over there for our backdrop. I'm going to choose my pointer tool over there just to make sure I don't make any mistakes. So there you go. That is your backdrop. Now we're going to add a river. So to do so, we're going to choose the rectangle tool. And I'm going to choose the drop down on the outline and I'm going to choose the orange slash. I don't want an outline for my rectangles. This is very important because later in our code, we want it to read the green, and if there's an outline, it's not going to work. So here's the fun but tricky part. We're going to create a series of rectangles, and that is going to be our river. And the river is what your fish is going to have to follow to play your game. Remember, if your fish goes outside of the rectangle, the game is over. So we want to keep a couple of things in mind. 1, I cannot start, I can't start if I don't change my fill. So we want our river to be blue. Silly Miss Blair. I'm going to change, I like that bright blue right there. So that's going to be my river. I chose color 65, saturation 100, brightness 100. But that's just mine. You can choose whatever you want. You don't need to write down these numbers for the rest of our code. So, things to keep in mind. I cannot start my river here because look, my fish is already out of water. What's going to happen? I'll never be able to start my game because the fish will always be touching green and the code will say, game over. So you want to make sure that wherever you start, your fish is in the middle of it. Also, you don't want to make one that's this size because again, it will always be reading some kind of green, so your game won't work. So you can change it, you can expand it. Oop, where's my little arrow? Woo! That would work. There we go. So I did kind of when I was playing around with this earlier, but now I'm thinking I want to make it a little harder. So I want to copy, and then we can Control V. So learn something new every day. So we are going to Control C, Control V. We're going to copy that one. If I come down here, there's 2 little blue arrows and I get a little hand. That's my turning tool. Okay, so I'm going to turn it and I'm going to try and make it as straight as possible. Come down here. It's too big for what I'm wanting, so I'm going to, You know what? I don't care for this, so I'm going to undo. The undo button is up here and to the left. And you just keep clicking. Eventually, my undo will go. I don't want that, so I'm going to undo, undo. That's all you have to do to take things away. So I'm going to draw another rectangle. I'm going to draw this one right here. There we go. Should be big enough for my fish to fit through. I'm going to draw another touch. I'm going to draw another rectangle. here. I'm going to draw another rectangle here. Maybe we'll make that look nice and even. Well, there's a little burp burp there, but that's okay. So now I can make my fish kind of go around in circles, but I want to make him travel a little bit farther too. Let's see, I'll add one down here, and then I'll add another one right here. And then I think I'm going to take one. Let me move this guy. So that's one way that I can exit the game. Maybe I want to take this one. So you can just kind of play around. But remember, you want to make sure that your fish can fit in all of them. Let's try maybe making one diagonal. Diagonal Dan. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. Kind of like that. Okay, so I've decided that this is going to be my river. So I've got to make it through all of these passageways. I lied. I think I want to make these connect. I'm going to move you right there. Yeah, so I kind of got a longer gameplay here. Okay, so this is what I chose to make my river look like. Yours can look however you choose to make it look. Remember, if you make a mistake like I did, you can always come back up here to the undo button. All right, we've only got one more step left, and that is to finish our code. So to finish our code, we're going to go back to the code panel, and we're going to click on our fish. Because remember I said up in this top corner, if we were to put any code here, then we would be coding our stage, not our little fish. So I'm going to click on fish. We should see the code that we already have. Should see our fish up here, and this should be blue. So we are going to add to this code. We want to add motion, point in direction 90. Then we want to repeat until, so we want our control. Here is our conditional loop. We are going to repeat until, and we want it to repeat until we're touching that blue, until we're touching that green grass of our field. So in order to do that, it's a sensing, right? We've used this before, but now we're going to do touching color, whereas before, if it was touching the edge or touching one of our robots, we used this block. Today, we are going to use touching color. So here's where I told you to write down those numbers. So I can choose my numbers, which were 31, 100, and I think it was 60. I moved my notes. 65. All right, so we can do it that way. Or, see, I'm having problems getting it to 65. You can do this tool and make sure it's touching the green, because we don't want it touching the blue. We want it touching the green. And you can do your dropper. But I wanted you to know that you can do your exact numbers, or you can use that tool. Either one works. So you're going to repeat until it touches the color. Then we want it to move one step. Well, it's going to repeat until touching the color. It's going to move, and it's going to point towards the mouse pointer. So we've got point towards mouse pointer. So inside our conditional loop, we are going to repeat. We're going to be moving towards the mouse pointer until we touch the color green that is in our grass. All right, so let's play our game. I will say, when we get big, remember when you click this, your fish is automatically going to be going towards your mouse pointer, meaning it's already going to be going up here. So you want to click and then really quickly get into that water. So we've got our click. Our little guy should be following our mouse pointer. I'm going to make him touch the green to make sure. Good, so see my code stopped, so that means it was correct. Green, he should start back up here. And I can go, 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 go. He's following my mouse. Very good. Okay, so we are on lesson 5. Our code wasn't difficult this time, but we did play around with some paint, which is really fun in Scratch. And for all of those games, you can take the past code and feel free to create your own moon that you want to be on or space that you want to be on. Go back to some of the other codes and create your own background. That's fun. I will leave you with one more code if you want to. We're going to click on the stage. So the stage should be highlighted blue, and my little weird blue and green loaf of bread is up here in the corner. I want not a song, but I want some sounds to be playing the whole time I'm playing my game. So I'm going to go to events, when the flag is clicked, because I want it to start when I start my game. I'm going to have a forever loop under control, and then I'm going to go to sound and play sound pop until done. I'm not a huge fan of the pop sound, so I click on Sounds tab. Then I'm going to click on Choose a Sound, Animals, and then I chose Jungle Frogs. But remember, anytime you hover over the purple, it makes the sound, so you can preview it. So this is my Jungle Frogs. I thought it was appropriate, like we could be in the jungle or a swamp. So I go back over to code. I'm going to drop down that pop sound, and I should have whatever I chose. So it should play Jungle Frogs until done. Click back on your fishy fish, back to the big, and see if it works. Here we go. Atmospheric, isn't it? All right, friends, that is it for today. We have learned paint, we have learned conditional loops, we have learned so many things. Our first month of classes is over. I can't believe it. We've got 3 more months, lots more lessons to go. I hope y'all have a great afternoon, and be sure to tune in next week.